Hello, welcome to another episode of this Build With Me project video. The project that we're building is this LED tower. It stands about a meter tall, and we're working our way through the instructions and through the building process. Last time, in the video that's going to be linked to somewhere over here or maybe up there, we put together this main circuit board, including all of these surface mount chips and other devices connected to this. In this video we're moving on to the circuit board which actually plugs in to this main board, and populating it with all of the connectors and the loudspeaker that comes as a part of this video. So let's get into this section. So in the kit they supply you with these strips of connectors that fit into the sockets that are on this board here. Of course, we need to cut these down into rows of 4. Now, the easiest way of holding these all in a position where they can fit into these connectors, I think, is just to put them in. It will add a bit of thermal resistance, but it will mean that these will be perfectly aligned between the two boards. And the good thing about putting it all in this way is that they are all held very nicely in place. You're not worried about them dropping out whenever you're wanting to solder them. So we just need to go along and solder all of these up. So using this lower board as kind of a guide for placing all of those pins is a really good idea, because there's some tolerance within the holes in the PCB, and so some of the sockets may have been slightly crooked, and if I soldered on all of these pins straight, it would be a difficult match and would put a strain on the connectors when being mated. Whereas by doing it this way, it makes it easier because they're all held in place, but also more accurate. It just takes a little bit of effort to separate the two boards. There we go. So in the instructions, which are actually quite extensive compared to the other kits that I've put together, but in the instructions for this intermediate board, it has us mounting this speaker using these long brass standoffs. But the ones that they have provided are only threaded female at one end and male at the other end, and have supplied no nuts. They have supplied some extra. I think they're extra. I've yet to find a use for them. Shorter threaded inserts, which you could use as nuts, but that's going to look pretty ugly you couldn't have them poking down below this board because it would be shorting out onto the main the motherboard, if you will. And if you have them upwards, they're going to be sticking up above the speaker and just looking a bit of an eyesore. Fortunately, they're just plain M3, and I have got plenty of M3 nuts and even some washers just to make everything look quite nice. So we shall insert these and use a washer. Actually, we shall, I'm not sure, I'm not happy about that. Those tracks go very close. And although it's not a plated through hole, I don't want to damage any of those tracks. So I might actually just use screw, just about clears it. So I may just use a screw and then use the nuts on the top of the speaker. Let's just see which way around they have that. According to the illustration, yep, it seems according to the illustration that the speaker is that way around. The solder terminals there. What is your opinion? Which looks better? Let's zoom you down in. I think we might have a winner in just using the nuts. I can just solder on a couple of these two little leads. They say polarity does not matter, so we shall just retin these two speaker terminals because they're a bit crusty looking. This is where Big Clive would be able to do this very easily with all his 57 fingers and thumbs. Just figuring out the best way of routing these cables as to where they need to go. That's that. And that, I think, is that board complete, because this board basically is just like an interconnect board. So everything, all the LEDs will wire in to these three banks of solder points. And then this just interfaces to the main motherboard that actually controls and powers everything. So that's going to be it for this part of this Build With Me project. This was quite a simple step. There wasn't too much involved in this circuit board. The second circuit board, as you can see, I've plugged it back in. It fits very nicely and easily in to the lower motherboard. Next up will be the LED rings, or ring PCBs, separating all of them and then beginning to solder up the 550 odd RGB LEDs. So that'll be fun. But thank you very much for watching along. We hope this has been of some help, and we'll see you on the next one.